Welcome back. This is week 10 of our next chapter. I'm Dominic Piguero.
And I'm Ann Piguero.
And here we go. So we've been on a bit of a hiatus from our podcast, which is code for we've been lazy and haven't gotten it done.
No, we've been busy.
We've been busy. You can term it however you want.
We've been busy.
It's been fun stuff. We did our trip to San Diego and reviewed training for our new business.
First sip.
And we
met 50 new families.
15
About
new
50.
families, partners, business people, not necessarily families, but just lots of people, lots of friends, lots of new cohorts. And then we did a trip to
Puerto Vallarta.
Puerto Vallarta, which was amazing. Ann and I, and then a couple of our friends.
The Shelton family.
Which was a just a getaway trip.
Yep.
But because of these things coming up, this kind of got mixed in the jumble, and we haven't been as dedicated. So we're getting back on track. With that, one of the things that we discussed while laying on the beach having a Mai Tai, her Mai Tai, me and iced tea, was the content that we want to produce, the things that we want to do. And so what we want to start doing is really honing our craft into sharing things that we think are relevant to you guys that will help you. So tonight's episode is going to be about marriage. Love and marriage. Okay. And about things that have worked for us. It's funny because when we were talking about this, one of the things that came up was when we first got together, many people didn't believe that we would last.
Yeah,
it was
very
written
true.
in books. It was said to us. We were polar opposites, and I mean polar opposites.
Yes.
North Pole, South Pole.
Yes.
South
absolutely.
Pole, North Pole.
Yep.
So there was a lot of differences. There was a lot of mountains to climb and things to overcome. But here we sit. How many years?
27.
27 years married.
27.
35-ish together. And I would venture to say, correct me if I'm wrong, I'd venture to say that it's better today than when it was when we started.
Oh, for sure. Absolutely.
So what do you think? What do you have to add?
No, it's exactly, and it's interesting. When I remember that day where we met, it was literally like 5 couples had basically formed, and we were the ones that lasted. So it's pretty cool knowing. But what I want to say about that, because I think people bet on us not staying together because we went, throughout the marriage, we've been through a lot of ups and downs. I feel that's very normal because you go through growth and you evolve and you change and you different needs and interests. But it's about the commitment and going through the journey, which has been pretty cool. But just like adaptability and flexibility, as you notice, we're in a different setting because we got feedback from actually the one guy, Donald, who
The foundation of our relationship.
Yeah, ironically, he was the one who jumped in front of my dad.
It's for another episode. We'll save that one for another episode.
Right. He was the one who gave us the feedback. So if you can see, we're kind of in a different environment because we're here to adapt and evolve, and we want to learn from people. So
primarily because until we upgrade to better mics, the sound was too far away. So we want to eventually go back to our other spot. We like that spot. It really defines who we are. But we want to test this out and see how the mics work for that. Thank you for bringing that up because I missed it when my long talk. That is very important why we're sitting here today. I like it.
Yep.
Good job. So we're going to go over some of the things that maybe have worked, maybe some of the things that haven't worked. It's funny, as Ann was talking, I thought, they used to say when a couple gets married, a man marries a woman so she'll stay the same, and a woman marries a man to change him. And as time goes on, I think one of my keys to learn is you marry that person because of who they are. And it's not who they are at that moment necessarily that is the long-term goal. It's who you grow into together, how you grow together. And that's the person that you're going to become. And that's the secret sauce that I think people don't realize because a lot of people unfortunately don't make it to that point. You don't get to the glory of it all because when you're dealing with the tough times, when you're dealing with those low times, it's so much easier to walk away, right?
Right. Absolutely.
And so stepping up and saying, it's worth fighting for is the difference in there. And some of the challenges that we faced when we were younger of always forcing my way and it has to be done like this and not being open to other ways of doing things, or understanding that probably the most difficult part for me, and then I'll let you have a turn at this, was understanding that every aspect of our relationship, good, bad, or indifferent, I own a part of that. And I have to understand that in an argument, my mom used to tell me, one person can't argue with themselves. It's going to take two people. So if you're in an argument with your partner, with your spouse, and you think it's all their fault and you're sitting there arguing, you're wrong. Unfortunately, it's the bottom line. And when you get to a point where you can realize that it doesn't matter who's at fault, it matters how you get through it and how you become better for it, I think is a big step. What do you think?
No, agree. And I think we talked about this in our previous podcast. We are by nature fighters, right? Mm-hmm. We're very much committed as well. And that could just be, how we stand as individuals and the values that we deem very high. So for us, again, like we have gone through definitely peaks and valleys with it, but it's all, you got to look at it from the aspect of how bad do you want it, and then what can you take out of it, and what are the lessons learned. But that took a lot. I mean, we've had arguments in this home. We've had a lot of things, right? We had demanding jobs and all those things. So it's really about how do you fit it all in or mold it in so that it can basically form into what you've always dreamed about as a child, or wanted when you were younger, or what you envisioned in a marriage. So I have to stand behind about, we're definitely fighters by nature. So
amen, sister. And realizing that, we talk about this a lot, and there's a lot more good times than there are bad, but there's still bad times. I mean, nothing's ever perfect. Oh, yeah. And there are often times, we've discussed it before, that even when we're getting ready for this podcast, where we have what we'll just define as a disagreement or non-preparedness, and we tend to bicker, which our daughters will call arguing, or my son will call normal. But we found that compared to when we were younger, those things are far less. They're resolved much quicker. They don't go into next day and on and on and on. And a lot of it is because of growth and openness and understanding that the number one relationship you have in the world is the one sitting right next to you. And if you're willing to fight for a career, or fight for a sport, or fight for all these other things in life, why would you not be willing to fight for this? Why would you not be willing to put the effort in here that you do in all the other aspects of your life? And we see it all the time. I mean, you go into work and people grind in 60, 70, 80 hours a week, and you're like, man, how do you do that? And their marriage is falling apart because that's too much work.
Right.
So being able to have tools and things to go back to can be helpful. And that's some of the things that we're talking about, things that we do together now to try to make it easier. And one of the big ones, I think, is conversation, is actually sitting down and having a conversation. And we've mentioned on this show before, that's what this was about. It forces us to engage in conversation that maybe necessarily wouldn't happen if we weren't doing this.
Right.
So it's very therapeutic. Love for this show to go bigger, love to help more people. But at the end of the day, the premise of this, and we shared it with my friend Don when we talked about this, was the therapy it has for us, connecting us, making us a better couple. And I'm pretty happy with the couple we are today.
Yeah, no, it is true when you think about it. It has definitely, I don't want to use the word force, but allowed us to connect in a different way and talk about real life issues, whether it's politics, things that happen in the life, us being a sandwich generation, all these things that's been able to connect us in different ways and really opened up our minds to, to
different things.
Yeah, different life.
Different opportunities. Yeah. And learning to do them together. And one of the things that we're going to cover is accountability.
Yes.
And let's just roll into that one. And accountability is such a borderline topic for a couple, especially a couple that I'll say fringe couple where you've got a lot of problems that you haven't dealt with. And when you're trying to become better and you say, hey, let's be accountability partners. We talked about this with the exercise and things that we did when we were younger. An accountability partner is supposed to be somebody who holds you accountable to your goals in a positive growth manner. So if we're going to decide we want to work out together, I'm going to go in a positive, encouraging way to my partner, my loving wife, and say, hey, honey, did you work out today? Remember, here's what your commitment was. Can I help get it set up for you? Can I help go with you? Or, hey, did you call the people that you normally work out with and go do that? Not, oh, didn't work out again, huh, Chuggy? All right, big ones, that kind of stuff, which happens all the time. So finding out ways to use tools in the manner that, because a lot of people go, oh no, we were accountable, isn't it? It was a disaster. Well, it's a disaster because you're not leveraging the proper tools. Would you agree?
Yeah, definitely.
What do you think? What's one of yours?
No, I was actually going to use accountability, but the beginning of the year, right? I talked about our reflections as the family and then what our goals are. And I actually took it out for this podcast and I was like reading, okay, what did I put to keep myself accountable? And one of them was like reading books, right? And I'm happy to say I only put 5 books for the year, but my goal is actually like once a month. I finished my one book that he actually got for me for Christmas. But he kept me accountable. Like, hey, let's go read for let's just get through 10 pages or, let's read for 10 minutes to kind of clear your mind and, sort of your form of just like separating yourself from like the life, the day, and then, engulf yourself in your book and everything. So, but if the encouragement, whether it's reading a book or exercising or wanting to learn something new, whatever it may be, that you keep each other encouraged and motivated so that you...
When you say encourage, I think of encouragement. Remember Encouragement? What was the movie? Couples Retreat.
Oh.
Speaking of couples, sorry, I digress.
But anyways, so awesome. Read my book and I'm on book 2. I'm so excited, actually. Things I wish I told my mother. But can I just say something so off topic? But the first page, when I opened it, it says, my mom always said, you're going to miss me
when I'm gone. Mom, I miss you every day. So those of us who have mom here, make sure that you say that every day. Yeah. Because oddly enough, or ironically enough, we had this conversation yesterday about how important that is for another episode.
Yeah.
But it's a great opportunity. As this goes with the accountability, I think one thing to add to this, which has been really good for us, because each of us, Ann and I are both type A personalities. We learned that early on. It was hard to get used to. We've overcome that now. But we both have really, really incredible strengths in very different arenas. I was raised reading. I read a lot. My mom and dad we were very blessed to always be reading. So one of the encouraging things I did for Ann was understanding, how to get into the reading mode, because a lot of people throw a book at you and go, oh, read it. You're going to be a reader. And it's so important that what you're reading is interesting and keeps you captivated. And sometimes you got to switch it up. Yeah. Self-help books are great. Comfort Crisis, it's a great book. I love it. When we traveled, I always bring a book with me. Yeah. I decided I wanted to bring a fiction book because it was a lot more entertaining for me. It allows me to use my imagination a lot more. So I encourage Ann, find a book you like. And if you go through part of it, and we've said this on another podcast, so I apologize for being redundant, but if it's not captivating, it's not getting you, close it and move on to another book. Because you don't want to force yourself and then get to the end of it and go, ugh, I don't want to do that.
Right.
Same with exercise. Go ahead.
Yeah. No, I'm just saying. So that's like the one important thing we talked about, just accountability, right? Yep. Keeping that each other on check, and then also provides motivation and encouragement. What were the other things that we decided?
As far as
just keeping our marriage kind of fun or spicy.
Salty and spicy.
We said, one of the things we said was taking like, doing something in the month, right? That was sort of like out of the ordinary, whether it's going to a new place, travel to a new area, having, trying a new restaurant, whatever it may be. Because then when you think about it, if you do it 12 times during the year, that's like 12 potential new things, new places, new restaurants, whatever, new cuisines, whatever, people or whatever you met. So it was pretty cool. What did we do?
We went to Mexico.
We went to Mexico. But it wasn't just like going to Mexico. We went to Mexico with
we went with two of our best friends, and we went to a resort we hadn't been to, which was really cool. We stepped out of comfort zones and met just
tons of
an enormous amount of people. I mean, Ann and I are social by nature, but we took it to another level on this trip. And then we initially went and we're like, oh, we're just going to lay in the resort and do nothing. And then we turned it into an excursion trip and not excursion like going out and spending money.
Yeah.
We went and did 6, 8, 9 mile walks to different cities, to different environments, surf towns and old towns and cobblestone streets and art deco, and absolutely phenomenal, and interacted and engaged the people within these communities.
Yeah, it was pretty cool.
Which is great for yourself, but it's even better when you're sharing it with somebody and you take that experience on together, and other people see that. And one of the couples that we met there was a beautiful couple from Canada. And they came up and commented at some point, what do you guys do? And I looked at him and I said, what do you mean, what do we do? And he's, you're such a great couple. And I started laughing, and I'm like, man, if you knew us before, you wouldn't say that. And he said, well, maybe, but whatever you're doing now. And it's again, there's no like big secret recipe. It's no, oh, we're so much better than everybody else. We deal with the hard times like everybody else, but we're coming up with these little ideas and going on a trip. And we'd get up in the morning, and her and I would sit up. I'd have coffee. We'd look at the ocean, and we kind of talk about what we wanted to do for the day. If we had some snags, which we did, we sat and worked through them. Sometimes it meant one of us take a walk or take a deep breath or take a dip in the pool or whatever. But you're going to have that problem. It's not going to be perfect. But the perfect part is getting over that hump, that wall, that stop, and making it. Yeah, and making it a priority. And I think the thing that we've learned from a lot of this is we are the priority. Right. What do you have to add? No,
but can I just, because it was really cool, and I know this for another episode, but speaking of that, like being just spontaneous in what you do, I actually just posted something recently of like, you only got one life to live, so live it and just go with it. So in this trip, we just found places. We visited Malecon, and we visited Sayulita.
My favorite place ever.
I know. And had we not done that and just like gone with it, wanted to explore, do the adventure, we'd have just been sitting and sunbathing for hours in front of the beach and not being able to experience all those things. So not only, and I'm a big person on creating memories, and I film everything just because I love being able to reflect back at the year later and be like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I did that. And I could sit and just watch all the things. But with that, which was really cool, my mom's been wanting to go. This is also another thing, talking about being flexible and supportive of one another. My mom wanted to go to Tahoe a couple weeks ago, and I got very sick, where we couldn't end up going. So we decided to move it to this past weekend, but literally we just flew back from Puerto Vallarta on Thursday with the intent of going to Tahoe on Saturday. And we have like 4 dogs in this house, and to try to figure out someone who would want to adopt them for the weekend is highly unlikely. So he willingly, I'm sure not willing, but wanted as well, decided to stay home to watch the dogs so that we can go take my mom, my cousins, and the kids and really spend some quality time with each other. And it's so ironic because there was a level 4 snowstorm, and then, I did have a little bit of a beef, but we ended up having like such a great time. But it was all about having someone supporting me so that I could do that for my mom and get her out of the house and gamble and then experience the snow for my cousins and then the kids. I actually had like a freaking
so much
fun. Yes, I did. But again, being supportive and being clear in communication, saying, hey, I really want to do this, but how can we manage to it? Because we got the freaking 4 dogs, and then him offering his time, but really he didn't want to come. Come on, let's be real. He didn't want to deal with
go drive for 4 hours and sit in the freezing cold snow, or sit on my couch and play with my dogs.
Yeah.
Which isn't the
or
entirety.
he didn't really want to hang out with 7 Filipinos in the car hearing us gab and whatever. Filipino. But that's really what
and it wasn't just sitting around my house all day.
No, he did clean. He did do that
which again was done so that when she got home, it was one less stress that she would have.
Exactly.
And getting the car prepared, I went and rented an all-wheel drive so they wouldn't have to stress about that.
Right.
And again, not because I can go, oh, look at how great I am. I'm the dad and father of the year. Or dad and husband of the year. Always father of the year. But it was to make her day a little bit easier so that, that ultimately it makes our days a little bit easier. But it's a great opportunity to go up and decompress, do some stuff that they love. I got to do some stuff around here and kind of decompress myself. So it was helpful, which leads me to another topic too, because the one thing you don't want to forget when you're doing all of this is when we get into this next phase of our relationship and we understand that my absolute best friend is sitting right next to me and you can understand that and you start communicating like that, you don't want to go from, I'm obsessed with my kids. Now I'm re-obsessed with my wife. And the person you're forgetting is this person that you look at in the mirror every day. Yeah. So making sure that we encourage each other for self-care, doing the things that benefit you. And they're going to be different from everybody. So for Anne, sometimes it's being able to go shopping or being able to go have a meal with the girls or going to have her girls' night, whatever weird table that they did that night.
What?
Whatever.
The Filipino boodle fight dish.
Having those things is great. For me, it's sometimes with the friends. A lot of it though is my self-care is getting back into my physical presence, getting on my treadmill, getting on my bike, the sauna. We talked about the sauna, getting in there and meditating and really being with myself. And we talked before about, being in an uncomfortable position, sitting in there in that really hot heat. And so I don't know if that's a proper term, but 130, 140 degrees, sitting in there for 20 minutes, no music, no TV, no nothing, just sitting out there and collecting my thoughts. And it's been really beneficial to me. And then building into one of the papers I have out here is the Gary Brecka breath work. And then my water bottle is a hydrogen water bottle. Doing these things that I can do that are helping me, get in touch with myself and making sure I have my self-care. And then she gets her time to have her self-care so that when we get together, we are better for each other. We're better for it. I work out my stress in there, lifting weights or getting on the treadmill or doing those things. And then I get deep meditation. So I resolve my own internal stuff. So when I am with her, I don't have all this bottled up stuff anymore. And it's easier to talk about. Right. What do you think?
No, agree. But you also like doing your one-on-one with your guy friends too. Just like being able to chat and stuff. No, I agree. And talking about self-care. So again, like 2 or 3 weeks ago, I was out for the count. I think because I haven't been eating well. I haven't been exercising. Man, that stuff caught up with me. And yes. And I was on my back for like literally 7 days in my room. And it was like a wake-up call for me to you need to I talked about this last time, being accountable for your health. Talked about that shield, just being really mindful about your body and demanding if you need things done because it doesn't feel right to ask, but then also making yourself accountable by eating well and exercising and doing the self-care, meditation, whatever it may be, because I had not been that sick for a long time. And so I think that was someone tapping me on the shoulder saying, "Girl, you need to get your stuff back in check." So, no, it's true. So
That was your serious voice.
Yeah. So honestly, it's like self-care, having your own time. It's extremely important. So
Extremely important. So reiterate.
yeah, we talked about what were the 4 things?
I don't know that we had 4 things necessarily. You got your notes, but it was communication, lots of talking, the trips.
Yeah, accountability, supportive,
self-care.
Yeah.
So a lot of this is conversational. It's we're not going to give you a guidebook, and we're not going to have a worksheet, and well, not yet. Maybe down the road as we get further into this, we will.
Yeah.
But the premise is, and we have been so incredibly fortunate to work through the toughest times in our life to get to a point where we're experiencing, for lack of a better term, bliss. I mean, it's truly enjoyable being together now, where, there was a lot of time when, we joke about people go, "Oh, you're not going to last." There's probably more times that we thought that we sat and had conversations with each other or with our friends or family going, "I don't know if I can do this anymore." And here we sit today, and by the grace of God, have become a role model couple that other people are now coming to us going, "Hey, what are you doing? How are you doing this?" And it's, again, there's not some book that I hand somebody and go, "Hey, just read this, you're good to go." It's work every day. It's being able to get up and put that grind in, and knowing that when all the other grinds stop, this grind is, until I'm 6 feet under, that's going to be my ride or die. That's my number one thing. And understanding that that's the deal I'm in for. I'm all in on it. I hope you are too. Maybe. I'm a little hesitant there.
No. I was digesting and listening, and agreeing. 100%.
Perfect.
No, 100%.
So that's what we got for this week. The end of our shows every week is always put a like on there. Follow us. We
add your comments. We want to know what you guys are doing. What could potentially help us
get interactive. Get on board with us. I'm going to put our social medias in the body this time because I want you guys to take a look at that. A lot of the things that we talked about, thank God Ann shares them out into the social media so you can actually see what we're talking about. Don't watch mine. We've already covered that it's like dad mode. It's not going to be entertaining. But you can see things about our sit business. You can see things about our trip. We put it out there because it's what we do. We think it's a great experience and you guys will all love it. So like, share, follow us, reach out to us, let us know. We're going to look in the next week or the next show or two, hopefully next one, trying to get a guest on here to just change it up a little bit.
Yeah, I was thinking like we could use the table, my Love of My Life table, and we can all just sit around here. We don't know how that's all going to work, but just like literally like coffee talk, whatever.
Coffee talk.
Or something. Just
Saturday Night Live. In
Yeah.
case you didn't remember, I'm full of jokes.
I have to watch the Justin Timberlake and Jimmy Fallon one or whatever. Anyways.
There you go. So thanks for tuning in. Go Niners. Win the Super Bowl.
Yes.
We're a Niner house out here, so rock and roll. Let's go. Peace.
Let's go.